Okay, artist name. Didn't I say we are going to talk about the name? Okay, so there's a few things with this. You got an artist name, and maybe you have a business name, and maybe they're the same. So one of the things that I've noticed that some bands or artists get an LLC, and they will call themselves, instead of One Great Band as being the artist, they'll call themselves One Great Band as a business, LLC. So it'll be One Great Band, comma, LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. So they get the artist name, and then you got a business name. Now, there's a band in Columbus called McGuffey Lane. Now, McGuffey Lane, the band name is McGuffey Lane, but their business is called Invisible Ink. So sometimes it's a completely different name that the business of the band or the artist is using as compared to using their own name. So something to consider. So with a business name or an artist name, you got to think about what's the name of the artist. And then again, is the name available? This is important. I had a client who uses her first name and her middle name, and both of them are fairly common names. She went online to look herself up, and when she Googled her own name, she found that there was somebody else using her name in California. So she calls me and she says, "Hey, somebody else is using my name." I said, "Well, do you have a trademark?" She goes, "No." I said, "Well, you know, anybody can use your name." And she's using her first name and her middle name. And I said, "Well, you need to register the name and then send the other party a cease and desist so that they can stop using the name." I said, "Here's the problem. Somebody who doesn't know you, and you're trying to get a booking, for example, and they go and look you up, and all of a sudden this other artist in California comes up and they start playing their music. And what happens if the music is terrible? You're not going to get the gig. So you have to be able to identify yourself as being that person that they're looking up. Now, the other thing is, you're going to have to find a name that's never been used. And this makes it even more difficult. There's a whole bunch of bands by the name of Rocking Horse, for example. You know, it's just who owns the name. It's all there's probably 20 different bands by the name of Rocking Horse. So you can't use a name that maybe the artist broke up 10 years ago and start using their name, because the same problem may happen to you. You may get confused with this other artist when someone's looking you up. You don't want that to happen, ever. You're going to be branding your own unique name. Okay? So Google it. Go to Reverb Nation, look it up. Go to TuneCore, look it up. Go to SoundCloud, look it up. I would also think about going to the Secretary of State, sos.state.oh.us. That's the state of Ohio's Secretary of State's website. And then the USPTO, which is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. See if someone else has trademarked that name already before you start putting it on all kinds of posters and flyers and websites and so forth. You got to make sure that you have an original name for the artist. Okay, as far as your business name, the name of your organization identifies you to artists, agents, venue owners, and the vast amount of other ancillary companies or individuals out there. To continue doing business on a regular basis, your name must remain untarnished. This is a small business. There's not really a whole lot of people in it. You might think there is, but it's really pretty small. You get to know people very quickly, and artists' names can follow them around for years and years and years. That's why once you come up with a good name, don't change it. That's your branding. Okay, remember, integrity is king. This business is all about relationships, and your name should become synonymous with someone whom others will want to do business with. So it's all about that branding, okay? Integrity is king. an organization will choose a name for the business entity when filing for articles of incorporation. You'll be using this name when you do your LLC, for example. The name chosen must be distinguishable from the name of any other business entity, corporation, trade name, LLC, or partnerships of which the state is registered with the state of Ohio. I would assume you're going to be doing that. So it's got to be a whole different name. Okay, before filing articles of incorporation, you should check the availability of the name you choose. That's why I suggested looking at Google and all the other ones. It's a good idea to have 2 or 3 alternative names for your business entity. Secretary of State will make the final determination in the availability of your business entity's name once the forms are filed. You can do this online. You can go look it up. It's www.sos.state.oh.us. And then when you're on that website, click on business, and then you can do a name search. And then you'll see if it's registered in the state of Ohio. Now, if you wanted to do this with every other state in the country, that would be a lot of work. I wouldn't go through that much work, but I would look to see if it's trademarked. And that's done at the uspto.gov. Okay, the applicant may also reserve a name. This will grant the business entity sole authority to use the name for 180 days prior to filing the articles of incorporation. If after this time the articles of incorporation have not been filed, the organization no longer has exclusive rights to the name. I don't recommend this. If you're going to get a name, just get it. It's $100, and then you own it. $100 in the state of Ohio. Now, if you're going to file a trademark, and when we get to trademarks, you'll see it's a big difference between the two, but at least you're incorporated within the state of Ohio, and you'll be able to do business within the state legally. There's usually a processing fee associated with this request. The reservation is renewable and transferable. Once again, I don't recommend the reservation. Just get the name. It's $100. If the name is unavailable for registration, you may contact the entity with the conflicting name for written approval by an authorized officer to use your chosen name. This consent must be on official form designated by the Secretary of State and accompanied with a filing fee. I just did this. I have a company called Undercurrents Inc., INC, and I wanted to form another company called Undercurrents LLC. So when I filed for Undercurrents LLC, I wrote a letter from Undercurrents Inc. to the Secretary of State granting Undercurrents LLC as a viable company. So now I have both. I have an Undercurrents LLC and I have Undercurrents Inc.
Do you suggest that we, if we're going to decide to register our names as like businesses or register a name as a business, do you suggest that we have an income coming from that business first, or does it not really matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
However, if you don't, and you're going to get an IRS tax ID number and some other things too, but if you don't have a profit within 3 years of filing, the IRS considers you a hobby, and they may not allow you to be a business anymore. So you're going to need to start making some money within 3 years.
Okay.
So don't just get the name and sit on it and do nothing. You know, this class is about making money. How are you going to survive in this business? My point is to try and help you make some money. All right, you can't use the word bank, banking, or trust within the name, just so you know. So don't use those. And any questions on the business name?